Good morning. Hope you had a good summer. I had a pretty good summer. I'm expecting to have an even better Christmas because I'm expecting my first grandchild then. Yeah. We begin with a reading from the Reverend Lisa Friedman, a colleague of mine I went to seminary with. And it's called One Wish. If you had but one wish, what would it be? Take your time thinking about it. So much is at stake. An end to all suffering. A stop to all violence. A solution to poverty and all of its ills. Would you wish for love? For forgiveness? For healing? Would you wish the world joy? Or the wisdom to change? Would you wish to understand everything or to know a lot less than you do? Take your time thinking about it. So much is at stake. For a wish is a thought is an idea leads to commitment, and a commitment cries out for action. Wish, it can be a dangerous thing, something daring, and it need not be witnessed by the stars to come true. Let us be glad that we are not given just one wish, but many. Let us be grateful not for wishful thinking, but for the discipline of the thoughtful wishing that can lead to change. If you had but one wish, what would it be? Sometimes it seems to me, reality, it's getting a little bit too scary. And just when I think it can't get any scarier, I'm proven wrong again and again. An assault on laws, an assault on science, an assault on data and reality itself. Are we sliding away from democracy and toward authoritarianism? And yet, we may feel called as full-fledged adults who are trying to build a door to that place, trying to pry open the ugly, bullet-pocked and swollen gate to the neighborhood of make-believe, the place where we would really prefer to be our environment, where we live up to our aspirations. And yet, this is not the world we live in today. And so, the nights of worry, the days of anxiety for what the present and the future hold for our friends, our family, our parents, our grandchildren, our children. I want to believe that our country will continue to move forward where real progress can be made. I want to believe that. But some days, it's just too hard. Even on normal days, getting bad news where you were expecting something else can make it feel like your life is coming to a screaming halt at a place you don't want to stop at. So I want to ask you a question, and I'd like to see your answer by a show of hands. How many of you have ever turned down a marriage proposal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like a dozen. Is that crazy? So when I was a new minister, way back in the 20th century. I was at a church board retreat, because when you're a new minister, and even when you're not, you go to church board retreats and you go to ministers' retreats and all these kinds of continuing education things, right? And so the facilitator asked this question to the whole group: have you ever turned down a marriage proposal? And about a third of the women indicated yes. 1 out of 3. That just completely blew me away. How could I have lived my whole life and not known that? Can you imagine? And the people who made the proposals probably thought they were going to get a yes answer, and then they had to accept the reality of no. And then I think about the people who got asked. I mean, it must have been kind of rough, at least uncomfortable, awkward, to say no, to accept a reality you really don't want to accept. This happens all the time, to accept the reality of loss, of a job, declining health, a soured romance. Bad news is hard to handle. The older I get, the more of it there seems to be. Today, we can hear or read about every disaster in every town, in every time zone in the world. And a lot of this news seems to me, there's nothing I can do about it. It's just bad news of suffering. And so then why bother turning on the news, TV news, internet news? It just seems to be one sad story or anxiety producing after another. And it feels like there's nothing I can do about it. Even the people who read the news, especially on TV, get this. They go from one sad story to the next. As one writer put it, there is no murder so brutal, no earthquake so devastating, no political blunder so costly that cannot be erased from our minds by a newscaster saying, and now this. Whew. It can be tough accepting reality. We want to argue with it. We want to say, no, that can't be. And yet it is. And arguing with reality, it's an unfair fight because reality always wins. It can be tough. So I resist bad news. I end up seemingly to accept injustice because there doesn't seem to be anything I can do about it, nothing substantive. And for those who are being courageous in public, as Voltaire put it, it is dangerous to be right when the authorities are wrong. So maybe I'll be quiet, for now. But being silent isn't really a great option either, as Desmond Tutu reminds us. If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. Now, perhaps like some of you, becoming a parent puts things into a different perspective. And I learned that my then small children could teach me things I did not expect. They are good at shifting between make-believe and accepting reality, most of the time. So one day, many years ago, I walked into the room where my daughters had just finished watching a movie. And they looked thoughtful. And my youngest, 5 maybe, asked me quite seriously, with all the seriousness that a young child can muster, "Daddy, are there monsters in this land?" And she was very serious. And as a parent, I always try and tell the truth at a level I think that they could understand. And it was a serious question from the serious little girl. Are there monsters in this land? Well, yes and no. I mean, there aren't magic Powerpuff Girls battling monsters, but there are monsters of racism and poverty, and every parent knows there are people who act like monsters. Child abusers, mass shooters, children's schools. But still, when we are around children of a certain age, we can remember that kids can be really good at playing make-believe and let's pretend, just at the drop of a hat. And when they were little, my daughters played these games. And they were about 4 years apart. And so it would be mother and daughter, or teacher and student, or the queen and the maid. And guess who got to be the queen and who had to be the maid, right? You can guess that. And they would imagine something better than their humdrum day. If they wanted to distract themselves from the idea that it wasn't quite actually dinner time yet, they would make believe. And if they were playing, all of a sudden one of them would say, let's pretend. And then they would make something interesting happen, like pretend we have magic shoes. And then the other sister might reply, magic shoes that give us special powers. Pretend our shoes can make us fly. And then they would be like, oh, let's fly about, shall we? And they would walk through the living room as if they were flying high up on the ceiling, looking down. Oh, look at that man over there, meaning me. That, I think that must be the cook. Soon he will be making us a most delicious dinner. So, while our children or grandchildren may say, let's pretend our shoes give us magic powers, we giants are called to make believe something much, much bigger. This is one of the empowering things about remembering your own childhood. You can go from make believe to making your life line up with your beliefs. Since humans began telling stories, we've imagined a better world than the one we were born into. We want to make a difference. We want it to matter to other people, strangers even, that our life meant something, that we lived. And at least the small world around us, it made a difference. Religion can help with this. And we may have grown up in one kind of religion and said to ourselves, well, what if I could design my own religion? What would that look like, feel like? And over the years, especially when I was first a UU minister, people have told me they started imagining a new religion, one that they would actually make up themselves and then maybe get their friends involved in, and why not? They were frustrated with conventional religion. They wanted something better to raise their children in, a place to make friends, a place to be who they really were, without condemnation for their beliefs, their orientation, or their identity. A place to feel both safe and to feel free. A place to explore life's great questions. Why not have such a religion that would help us make a difference, a religion that would help us rise above our personal dramas to make a difference in the world? And some people, on the verge of the enormous task of making up their own religion, they discover that the religion that they wanted to invent, well, it already exists. At least for me, maybe for you too. It's called Unitarian Universalism, and it also exists in progressive Christianity, progressive Judaism, and other places. And our religion itself makes believe. Because we believe that a better world can exist. And not only that, we believe we can make a difference. Maybe a small difference, maybe not an immediate difference, but we can make a difference through and with and among our fellowship. Admittedly, this is a stretch, okay? But let's pretend. Are you ready? How shall we begin the story of our make-believe? Okay, well, a lot of stories start out once upon a time, so let's start there. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, in this land we now live in, there were people who were a lot like us. And there were monsters in that land. Those people are long gone, their possessions are scattered. But some like-minded people found each other. They were perplexed. They said, the religion of our childhood is oppressive. It causes arguments and wars. Who needs it? But wait a minute. Let's make believe. Let's pretend we can have a place where we need not believe alike to love alike. Let's make believe there could be a religion where deeds are more important than creeds. This religion, is mostly about the here and now, and not the hereafter. Let's pretend such a religion exists right now, and yes, let's make it convenient. Let's pretend it exists right here in this neighborhood, right? I mean, why not? It could happen because you are making it happen. But this congregation is in your hands. How do you make believe? What shall you do with this faith? Now that the forebears are gone, now that we continue to light the chalice flame, now that it is your turn. Our church founders were liberal, religious women and men born into a world they did not create, but who wanted to change it. They were people who resisted simply being rolled over by history, but instead wanted to make history. These women and men did something interesting. They accepted reality, and they resisted the idea that things always had to stay the same. Let's pretend we can do something about this. It was religious liberals who saw with the reality of slavery, they worked for freedom. With the reality of segregation, they worked for equal opportunity. With the reality of legalized homophobia, they worked for gay marriage, and on we go. They were a lot like us. They had their turn. They told their stories. They helped to make history. Why? Why did they do that? Why? They could have played games at home. Why work for justice for strangers? Why? I like to believe they did that kind of work for the same reasons we do. It makes us happier people. It helps provide meaning for our lives and meaning for the lives of others. Think about it. Once upon a time, not that long ago, there was less than zero chance for a black man to become president of the United States. I mean, less than zero. And it was only a little over 10 years ago. 10. It seemed that there was zero chance for gay marriage in the United States. Zero. 10 years ago. That's it. But some of us said, hey, let's make believe that such a world could exist, and all it will take is for us to keep working with others to make believe and make our dreams come true. That's the formula right there. First we make believe, then we work with others to make our dreams come true. It makes you feel better when you know through some small part you are helping to make and change history, even if it doesn't come about in your lifetime. Susan B. Anthony worked her whole life to get women the right to vote, and she died before it happened, but she made believe and she knew, she had faith that it was going to happen. It makes you feel better when you do that. And now with all that is going on in the world, we are encouraged to find our courage, to make believe and to take our turn, to create that neighborhood of make-believe, the neighborhood we long for, where the gentle trolley ding-ding passes through, where the adults are kind, and better, where the adults are sane. And so the day has come. Yeah, it's today. Now it is your turn. What shall you do? Accept the reality of injustice, or argue with it, say it doesn't exist, or make believe together? Are there monsters in this land? Yes. Yes, there are. They're not the kind that are going to eat us raw, just the kind that continue to make life miserable for us and for other people. And so, let's make believe. Let's make believe that we can work for an earth made fair and all her people one. Let's make believe that one day all people will be judged not on the color of their skin, not on their gender identity, not who they love, but on the content of their character. Let's make believe that we can do something about the world we live in. And as the preacher said 62 years ago last month in his I Have a Dream speech, with this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountains of despair a stone of hope. A stone of hope, said Dr. King. And upon this rock, you have built so much more than a stone of hope. This house is a haven and a beacon. A haven for religious liberals and a beacon for liberal religion. And together, that haven, that beacon form an oasis. Upon this rock, you have built a home. Welcome, welcome home. Let the congregation say, Amen. I invite you to rise and sing as you are willing and able. Number 121 in the gray hymnal, We Will Build a Land.